The council chamber was vast and cold. Ambassador Hannah Park stood in the center, surrounded by 17 different alien species. They sat on elevated platforms, looking down at her like she was nothing more than an insect. This was the Galactic Council, the most powerful organization in known space, and right now they were laughing at her. Council Prime Velthara raised one of her forearms, silencing the chamber. Her species, the Kelvorians, had ruled the council for over 3,000 years. She looked at Hannah with something close to pity. Ambassador Park, Velthara said, her voice echoing through the chamber. Your people request military protection again. 3 human colonies have been attacked this month, and yet you still cannot defend yourselves? Hannah kept her face calm, but inside she was burning with anger. She had given this same speech 5 times this year. Every time the council dismissed her concerns. Every time they treated humans like children who needed to be taught patience. The Zarkath raiders ignore your laws, Hannah said carefully. They attack our colonies because they know we have limited military forces. We are asking for council protection, as the treaties promise. Another council member, a creature that looked like a floating jellyfish, made a sound that was clearly mockery. Several others joined in with their own species' versions of laughter. Limited military forces? Velthara repeated. You have virtually no military at all. Your species was welcomed into the council 100 years ago. Yet you still fly primitive ships and beg for protection. Perhaps humans are simply not ready for galactic civilization. Hannah bowed slightly and left the chamber. As the doors closed behind her, she heard more laughter. She walked through the curved hallways of the council station, her hands shaking with rage. But she also felt something else. Satisfaction. They still believed the lie. Halfway across the galaxy, Commander Dae-Ho Kim stood on the bridge of the EDF Indomitable. To any alien scanner, his ship looked like a small patrol vessel, barely armed and certainly no threat. The reality was very different. Commander, his tactical officer called out. We're receiving distress signals from New Sol Colony. Multiple hostile contacts. It's the Zarkath. Dae-Ho felt his jaw tighten. New Sol was home to 50,000 civilians. Families, children, he looked at the tactical display showing 6 Zarkath warships entering orbit around the colony planet. Request. Permission to engage from Earth Command, he ordered. The wait felt like hours, but was only minutes. When the response came, Dae-Ho closed his eyes briefly. The answer was what he expected but hated. Permission denied. His communications officer reported quietly. Admiral Choi says we must maintain the appearance of weakness. We cannot reveal our true capabilities. Captain Yoon Ji-sung, his second-in-command, turned to him with barely controlled anger. She was young, only 30 years old, and sometimes her idealism showed through the military discipline. Sir, with respect, those are our people down there. We have the weapons to stop this. Why are we hiding? Dae-Ho looked at her for a long moment. Then he gestured to his ready room. Once inside with the door closed, he pulled up a classified file on his terminal. What I'm about to show you is known to less than 1,000 people in all of human space, he said. Captain, humanity has not been weak for a very long time. He brought up a star map. It showed human space, but with layers and layers of hidden markers. Hyunji leaned forward, her eyes widening as she understood what she was seeing. These are shipyards, Dae-Ho explained, pointing to clusters hidden in asteroid fields. These are weapons platforms disguised as research stations. And these, he highlighted hundreds of points throughout human space, and are fleet staging areas. How many ships? Yoonji whispered. Over 10,000 capital ships, hundreds of thousands of support vessels, more firepower than the entire Galactic Council combined. Dae-Ho smiled without humor. We've been building in secret for 80 years. Yoonji sat down heavily. She stared at the map, then at her commander. Her voice was barely audible when she spoke. But why? Why let our people die when we could protect them? Because the galaxy had to believe we were weak, Dae-Ho said. When humanity joined the Council, we studied every species. We learned how they thought, how they fought, what they feared. And we realized something important. They had all grown soft. He pulled up records of galactic conflicts from the past 5 centuries. Battle after battle showed the same pattern. Limited engagements, ritualized warfare, conflicts that ended when one side admitted defeat, not when they were destroyed. The Council species fight wars like games, Dae-Ho continued. They have rules, honor codes. They never truly commit to total war because they've had peace for so long that they forgot what real conflict looks like. He paused. But humans remember. Earth's history taught us lessons these aliens never learned. So we hid, Yunji said, understanding dawning in her eyes. We made them think we were nothing while we prepared. Exactly. Every insult, every moment of mockery, every time they denied us protection, it all reinforced their belief that humanity was inferior. And while they believed that, we built, we researched, we prepared. Daeho's expression hardened, and now we wait for the moment when we can reveal the truth. An alarm sounded from the bridge. Daeho and Yunji rushed back to their stations. The tactical display showed the Zarkath fleet in orbit around New Sol, beginning their attack. They're broadcasting on all frequencies, the communications officer reported. They're taunting us, saying humanity is too weak to stop them. Daeho watched as the colony's defenses tried to fight back. They were hopelessly outmatched. The Zarkath were known throughout the galaxy as brutal warriors who ignored council laws. They preyed on weak species, and right now humanity appeared to be the weakest of all. 3 hours later, New Sol went silent. 50,000 people gone. The Zarkath broadcast their victory across the entire galactic network, laughing at humanity's weakness. Captain Song had tears running down her face. Other crew members were openly angry, demanding to know why they had done nothing. Daeho felt every death like a knife to his heart. But he also knew what was coming. His terminal chimed with an encrypted message. It was a single line, sent directly from Admiral Bo-Ra Choi, Supreme Commander of Earth's hidden military forces. The message had been prepared years ago, waiting for the right moment. It read, "Protocol Revelation, Execute." Daeho took a deep breath and opened a channel to his crew. When he spoke, his voice was calm and cold. "All hands, this is the commander. For 80 years we have hidden our true strength. We have endured insults and mockery. We have watched our people die while we pretended to be helpless." He paused, letting the words sink in. That ends now. Today the galaxy learns what humanity really is. He pressed a button on his command console. Throughout the ship, armor plates began extending from hidden compartments. Weapon ports opened across the hull. The energy signature of the Indomitable increased 100-fold as its true power systems activated. Across human space, the same transformation was happening to thousands of ships. Mining stations revealed themselves as military fortresses. Research facilities activated weapon systems that had been hidden in plain sight. Asteroid fields came alive with warships that had been waiting in silence for decades. Captain Song stared at her tactical display in shock. Where moments ago there had been a handful of weak human vessels, there were now signatures for thousands of warships, and more were appearing every second. "My God," she whispered. "We've been surrounded by our own fleet this entire time and never knew it." Daeho smiled grimly. He opened a new channel, broadcasting on all frequencies, including the one the Zarkath had used to mock humanity. "This is Commander Daeho Kim of the Earth Defense Force to all Zarkath vessels. You attacked our colony. You killed our people. You laughed at our weakness." His voice went ice cold. "Now let me show you what human weakness really looks like." The Indomitable's weapon systems came online, and Daeho gave the order that would change the galaxy forever. The time for hiding was over. The transformation spread across human space like wildfire. Every ship, every station, every platform that aliens had dismissed as civilian infrastructure suddenly revealed its true purpose. The galaxy watched in stunned horror as humanity shed its disguise. Commander Daeho Kim stood on the bridge of the Indomitable, no longer pretending it was a simple patrol craft. The ship hummed with power as its true systems came online. What aliens had thought was a frigate was actually a heavy battlecruiser, armed with weapons that made most Council warships look like toys. "All fleet elements reporting ready, sir," Captain Yoon-ji Song reported. Her voice was steady now, the shock replaced by professional focus. "We have positive identification on the Zarkath vessels. 6 heavy cruisers still in orbit around New Sol." "Good," Daeho said. "Open a channel to the Zarkath commander. Let's see if they still feel like laughing." The view screen flickered to life, showing a massive reptilian creature covered in battle scars. This was War Leader Kreth, one of the most feared Zarkath commanders in the galaxy. He had personally destroyed over 30 colonies from weaker species. His reputation was built on brutality and the certain knowledge that no one was strong enough to stop him. Kreth laughed when he saw the human commander. It was a deep, rumbling sound that showed rows of sharp teeth. So the weak humans finally found courage? You think your little patrol ship can threaten me? Kreth leaned closer to his viewer. I just killed 50,000 of your kind. What will you do about it, prey creature? Deho smiled. It was not a friendly expression. Tactical, show him what's around him, the commander ordered. On Kreth's bridge, alarms suddenly screamed to life. His tactical officer began shouting in panic, pointing at the displays. The Zarkath commander turned to look, and for the first time in his long military career, he felt real fear. The asteroid field he had ignored, the one his sensors had marked as empty space, was now showing hundreds of massive energy signatures. Ships were powering up, revealing themselves one by one. They had been there all along, hidden and silent, waiting. Behind the Zarkath fleet, what they had thought was a gas mining platform was unfolding into a weapons platform 3 times larger than their biggest ship. Defensive satellites that were supposedly offline were now tracking his vessels with enough firepower to crack planets. 6-to-1 odds, Deho said calmly, but not in your favor. Surrender now and you will be allowed to live and face trial. Fight, and I promise you will not survive the next 10 minutes, Kreth roared in anger and fury. The Zarkath did not surrender. Ever. He cut the channel and ordered his fleet to attack. His ships turned, weapons charging, prepared to destroy the arrogant humans who dared challenge them. They never got the chance to fire. The human fleet attacked with precision that shocked everyone watching. Railgun rounds crossed the distance in seconds, moving too fast for Zarkath shields to deflect. Each shot was perfectly calculated, striking weak points that the aliens did not even know they had. 3 Zarkath cruisers lost main power before they could return fire. Missiles followed, but these were unlike anything the galaxy had seen. They moved in swarms, coordinating with each other through AI networks. When Zarkath Point Defense took out one missile, 3 others adjusted their approach. When shields blocked them, they simply went around and hit from different angles. Captain Song coordinated the electronic warfare assault. Human systems penetrated Zarkath networks like they were made of paper. Within seconds, she had control of their targeting computers, their communications, even their life support systems. Their systems are so primitive, she said with disbelief. It's like they never considered someone might try to hack them. They did not, Deho replied. Council warfare has rules about cyber attacks. They consider it dishonorable. We consider it effective. 2 more Zarkath ships exploded as human torpedoes found their reactors. Kreth was screaming orders, but half his fleet could not even respond. Their computers were feeding them false information, showing targets that did not exist while missing the real threats until it was too late. The 6th ship tried to run. Its engines flared as it attempted to reach jump distance. It barely moved a kilometer before human tractor beams locked onto it. The ship was pulled back like a fish on a hook, struggling uselessly. In less than an hour, the battle was over. 5 Zarkath warships were destroyed. The 6th was disabled and boarded by human marines. Kreth himself was captured, still alive, but his arrogance completely shattered. Deho ordered the entire battle recorded and broadcast on all council frequencies. Every species in the galaxy could watch. Every government could analyze what had just happened. He wanted them all to see the truth. Meanwhile, at the Galactic Council chambers, chaos had erupted. Ambassador Hannah Park stood before the council once more. But this time she was not begging for help. She stood tall and confident, and behind her were holographic displays showing the human fleet in all its terrible glory. Council Prime Velthara was standing now, her forearms gesturing wildly as she shouted accusations. You have violated every treaty. You built military forces in secret. You lied to the council for decades. Her voice carried both rage and fear. This is an act of war. Hannah let her finish. Then she spoke, and her voice carried throughout the chamber and across the galactic network. War? Hannah repeated. We have not declared war on anyone. We have not attacked any council member. We have simply revealed that we are capable of defending ourselves. She gestured to the displays showing the battle footage. The council members watched in horrified silence as the Zarkath fleet was systematically destroyed. As for treaties, Hannah continued, we read them very carefully. Every restriction, every limit applied only to known military assets. You never asked if we had unknown assets. You simply assumed we were weak and primitive. That was your mistake, not our deception. A council member from the Dorathi species stood. They were known for their logical thinking and careful analysis. How? The Dorathi asked simply. Our intelligence agencies monitor all species. How did you hide construction on this scale? Hannah smiled. It was not a kind smile. You monitored what we allowed you to see. Every shipyard you knew about was real, but small and primitive, just as we wanted you to believe. The real construction happened in places you never thought to look. We built shipyards inside asteroid fields, in the atmospheres of gas giants, even in hollowed-out moons. We hid in plain sight, and you never noticed because you believed we were not smart enough to deceive you. The chamber erupted in arguments and accusations. Some species demanded humans be expelled from the council. Others were already calculating how to protect themselves from this new power. A few, the smaller and weaker ones, looked almost hopeful. Hana waited for the noise to die down. Then she played another recording. This one showed Admiral Bora Choi, standing in a command center that made the council chambers look small. The admiral spoke directly to the council, her voice carrying absolute authority. I am Admiral Bora Choi, Supreme Commander of the Terra Defense Network. What you witnessed today was a minor engagement involving 3% of our total military capability. I repeat, 3%. She paused to let that sink in. We have 10,000 capital ships, 400,000 support vessels, defense platforms around every human world, and weapon systems that your species stopped researching centuries ago because you deemed them too aggressive. The displays showed more footage. Massive shipyards revealed themselves across human space. Fleets that had been hidden for decades now broadcast their positions openly. Weapons platforms came online, their energy signatures visible to every sensor in the galaxy. We have prepared for 80 years, Admiral Choi continued. We studied every species, every tactic, every weapon system the galaxy uses. We learned from your strengths and your weaknesses, and we built a military force designed for one purpose, to ensure that humanity will never again be at the mercy of those who consider us weak. She leaned forward, her expression hard as steel. From this day forward, humanity will defend its own territory. We will protect our own people, and if anyone attacks us again, they will face the full might of human military power. We are done pretending to be weak. The transmission ended. The council chamber was completely silent. Every member was staring at the displays, at the numbers, at the reality of what humanity had become. Hana looked directly at Velthara. You asked what we would do about the Zarkath attacks, she said quietly. Now you know. We can protect our own. The galaxy had fallen silent in fear, and humanity was just getting started. The galaxy burned with fear and anger. In the 3 days since humanity revealed its true power, every government, every military, and every intelligence agency had been working around the clock. They were all trying to answer the same question. How did they miss this? The Kelvorian Empire called an emergency session. Council Prime Velthara stood before her own government officials, and for the first time in her long career, she saw doubt in their eyes. Doubt in her leadership, doubt in their own superiority. Our intelligence service has completed their analysis, her military advisor reported. The humans did not just hide their military. They systematically fed us false information for 8 decades. Every estimate we made about their industrial capacity was wrong. Every assessment of their technology was wrong. They played us perfectly. Velthara felt rage building inside her. The Kelvorians had ruled the council for 3,000 years. They were supposed to be the wise ones, the careful ones, the ones who saw everything, and yet a species barely a century old had fooled them completely. What about their weapons? She demanded. Surely we can match them. The advisor hesitated, which told her everything she needed to know. When he finally spoke, his voice was grim. They use weapons we stopped developing centuries ago, kinetic weapons that strike at speeds we deemed impractical, AI systems we considered too dangerous, cyber warfare we banned as dishonorable. They have no rules, no honor code, no limitations. Their entire military doctrine is built around winning at any cost. Velthara understood the real message behind those words. Council species fought civilized wars. They had rules, agreements, traditions. Battles were won when one side admitted defeat, not when they were exterminated. But humans came from a world where wars were fought until the enemy could not fight anymore. They understood total war in a way the galaxy had forgotten. We must act, she said firmly. If we do nothing, humanity will dominate the galaxy. We need a coalition, a military alliance strong enough to contain this threat. Across the galaxy, other species were having similar conversations. The Zarkath, humiliated by their defeat, were calling for revenge. The Dorathi were running calculations and concluding that humanity could defeat any single species. The smaller nations were quietly watching, wondering if this change might actually benefit them. Commander Daeho Kim received new orders from Earth Command. He and Captain Yoonji Song were assigned to a diplomatic mission. Their job was to visit neutral species and demonstrate human capabilities, not to threaten but to inform. The goal was to prevent fear from turning into hostile alliances. Their first stop was the Miralan homeworld. The Miralan were a small species, only 5 billion total population, and they had always been treated as lesser members of the Council. When the human delegation arrived in orbit, they were greeted with caution. The Miralan Prime Minister was a thin, nervous creature with large eyes. She met Kim and Song in a conference room that was clearly designed for much larger species. The furniture was too big, the ceilings too high. Everything about the room reminded visitors that the Miralan were small and unimportant. "Why are you here?" the Prime Minister asked. "You have revealed your power. What more do you want from us?" Song answered gently. She had been chosen for this mission precisely because she still believed in doing the right thing. "We are here to tell you the truth," Song said. "Yes, we have military power, but we do not want to use it for conquest. We want to use it to protect those who cannot protect themselves." The Prime Minister looked skeptical. She had heard similar promises from larger species before. They always meant the same thing: submit or be conquered. Kim activated a holographic display. It showed detailed information about human technology, not weapons but other capabilities. Medical advances that could cure diseases the Miralan thought incurable. Agricultural techniques that could double their food production. Industrial processes that would make their economy stronger. "We are offering this technology freely," Kim explained. "No strings attached. No demands for loyalty or payment. We want to prove that human power can be used to help, not just to threaten." The Prime Minister studied the data for a long time. When she finally looked up, there were tears in her large eyes. "Do you know what it is like?" she asked quietly. "To be weak in a galaxy ruled by the strong. To know that if a larger species wants your territory, there is nothing you can do. To beg for protection and be laughed at?" She paused. "You humans understand. You were treated the same way. That is why I believe you might actually be different." While Kim and Song conducted diplomacy, Ambassador Hana Park faced a different kind of challenge. 3 assassination attempts in 5 days. Each one had been stopped by her security detail, human soldiers whose combat skills terrified the professional assassins who thought they were the best. The 3rd assassin survived and was interrogated. He revealed that he had been hired by extremist groups from multiple species. They all saw humanity as an existential threat. In their view, humans had to be eliminated before they became too powerful to stop. Hana listened to the report and smiled grimly. She had expected this. Fear made people dangerous, and the galaxy was very afraid right now. She called an emergency meeting with Admiral Choi via secure channel. The Admiral appeared on the view screen looking as calm as ever. "They are going to form a coalition," Hana reported. "Belthara is gathering allies. Within a month, maybe sooner, they will present an ultimatum. Submit to supervision or face war." "Let them try," Choi responded. "We prepared for this possibility. If they want war, we will give them a lesson they will never forget." "But Admiral," Hana said carefully, "is that what we want? We revealed our power to protect ourselves, not to conquer. If we destroy the coalition, we become the very thing they fear." Choi considered this for a moment. Then she nodded slowly. "You are right. Which is why I have already contacted Earth's government with a proposal. If species want independence from oppressive powers, we will guarantee it. If smaller nations want protection, we will provide it. We will use our power not to dominate but to reshape the galactic order into something more fair." Hana felt hope rising in her chest. This was better than she had dared to dream. But she also knew the risks. "The dominant species will see that as revolutionary," she warned. "They will fight to protect their power." "Yes," Choi agreed. "They will, and we will be ready." The announcement came 3 days later. Admiral Choi broadcast a message to every world in the galaxy. Her words were simple and direct. "From this day forward, humanity offers protection to any species seeking independence from oppressive rule. We will not conquer. We will not dominate. But we will defend the right of all species to determine their own destiny. Any nation, any world, any people who want freedom, we will guarantee it." The reaction was immediate and dramatic. 16 smaller species immediately requested human protection. 43 oppressed colonies declared independence, knowing that humanity would back them. The galactic order that had existed for millennia began to crack and shift, and Velthara watched it all with growing rage and fear. She sent a message to her coalition allies. 7 major species agreed to join her. Together, they would force humanity to submit. The coalition sent their ultimatum through official channels. Humanity must submit to external supervision of their military. They must share all technology. They must accept limits on their fleet size. They had 1 week to comply. Admiral Choi's response was broadcast across the entire galaxy. She looked directly into the camera, and when she spoke, her voice carried absolute certainty. No. That was all she said. 1 word, but it was enough. Commander Kim received his orders the same day. Prepare for war. The coalition would not accept that answer. They would come with everything they had. And when they did, humanity would show the galaxy what happened when you threatened Earth. The fear was about to become something much worse. It was about to become war. The coalition fleet was the largest military force assembled in recorded history. 50,000 warships from 7 different species, all united under a single purpose: to contain the human threat. SciFiPrime Velthara stood on the bridge of her flagship, watching the massive fleet form up around her. "This is a moment that will be remembered forever," she announced to her crew. "Today, we remind humanity that there are consequences for deception. Today we show them that the Council still has power." She paused dramatically. "Today we teach them to fear us again." Her officers cheered. They had spent 3 weeks preparing for this moment. 3 weeks analyzing human tactics from the Zarkath battle, 3 weeks developing countermeasures. They had convinced themselves that the Zarkath lost because they were primitive warriors, not because humans were actually superior. The fleet entered human space in a massive formation designed to intimidate. Thousands of ships moving together, their combined energy signatures visible to every sensor for light years. It was a show of overwhelming force, a message that could not be ignored. Velthara expected immediate human resistance. Instead, they encountered only automated defense platforms, simple weapons satellites that fired a few shots before being destroyed, unmanned drones that attacked in small groups and were easily defeated. After 2 days of steady advance, the coalition had not seen a single crewed human vessel. "Where are they?" her tactical officer asked nervously. "Our intelligence said they had 10,000 capital ships. We have only destroyed a few hundred unmanned platforms." Velthara studied the tactical display. Human territory stretched before them, seemingly undefended. In the distance, she could detect Earth itself, the human homeworld, protected by only a few orbital stations that looked centuries old. "They are afraid," she said with satisfaction. "They thought their deception would save them. But when faced with real power, they run and hide like the cowards they are. All ships advance to Earth. We will force their surrender and end this farce." Deep in the Kuiper Belt, Admiral Bora Choi watched the coalition fleet push deeper into human space. She stood in a command center carved into a dwarf planet that the aliens had marked on their maps as an empty rock. Around her, holographic displays showed every single coalition ship, tracked and analyzed in real time. "They took the bait," her chief strategist reported. "The fleet is now at maximum penetration depth. All escape routes are within our control perimeter." Choi allowed herself a small smile. Humans had learned many lessons from Earth's long history of warfare. One of the most important was this: never fight where your enemy wants you to fight. Let them think they are winning. Let them commit fully, and then spring the trap. "Activate the defense network," she ordered. "Show them what real power looks like." Velthara was reviewing deployment plans when every alarm on her ship started screaming at once. Her tactical officer stared at his displays in disbelief, then terror. "Energy signatures. Massive energy signatures all around us. The asteroid fields are lighting up. The gas giants are launching ships. The space stations we passed are transforming." His voice rose to a shout. "We are surrounded." On the view screen, Velthara watched in horror as the trap revealed itself. Asteroids that her sensors had marked as lifeless rocks suddenly opened like flowers, revealing hidden shipyards that had been there all along. Ships poured out by the thousands, their weapons already charging. The gas giant her fleet had passed 3 hours ago was launching vessels from deep in its atmosphere. Not dozens or hundreds, thousands. Ships that had been waiting in the crushing pressure where no alien scanners could detect them. Behind the Coalition fleet, those old orbital platforms near Earth were unfolding. What looked like ancient defensive satellites were actually compact weapons platforms. As they expanded, each one revealed firepower that could threaten entire fleets. Velthara's tactical display showed the terrible truth. The Coalition fleet of 50,000 ships was surrounded by a human force of over 150,000 vessels. Every escape route was blocked. Every retreat path was covered by weapons that could destroy them before they could jump to faster-than-light speed. "They let us walk into a trap," she whispered. "This entire invasion was a trap." Commander Daeho Kim's voice came over all Coalition frequencies. He spoke calmly, but there was steel in his words. "Coalition forces, this is Commander Kim of the Terra Defense Network. You entered our space with hostile intent. You brought your entire fleet thinking you could intimidate us into surrender." He paused. "You were wrong. You did not invade human space. We allowed you to walk into our killing ground. Surrender now, and you will be treated with honor. Fight, and we will destroy you." Velthara felt rage overcome her fear. She had not ruled the Council for centuries by surrendering to threats. She opened a channel to all Coalition ships. "All ships, attack. Show these primitives what happens when they challenge the Council." The battle began, and it was nothing like the civilized conflicts the Coalition species were used to. Human ships attacked from multiple directions simultaneously, coordinating through AI networks that processed tactical data faster than organic minds could follow. Their weapons fired from ranges the Coalition thought impossible. Railgun rounds traveling at significant fractions of light speed punched through shields that were designed to stop energy weapons. Captain Yoonji Song led a squadron in electronic warfare operations. Within minutes, she had penetrated the Coalition's command network. Coalition ships started receiving false orders. Targeting systems locked onto friendly vessels. Navigation computers provided incorrect coordinates. Communication systems broadcast static. A Kelvorian battleship tried to fire on a human cruiser. Instead, its weapons systems swiveled and fired on the Darathi destroyer beside it. Both ships began combat against each other, each one believing they were fighting humans while their sensors showed them false targets. Human missile swarms demonstrated tactics the Coalition had never conceived. Thousands of small, smart weapons that communicated with each other. When point defenses destroyed some, others learned and adapted. They attacked from angles that made interception impossible. They waited for shields to drop and struck in those microsecond windows. Velthara watched her fleet being torn apart. Coalition ships that had never faced real combat were panicking. Captains who had trained in civilized warfare exercises found themselves fighting an enemy that had no interest in honor or rules. Humans fought to win, completely and absolutely. A Zarkath revenge fleet that had joined the Coalition tried to retreat. They were the warriors who had claimed to never flee from battle. But facing human precision warfare, even their courage broke. They turned to run and found their escape route blocked by mines that appeared out of nowhere. The mines were not standard explosives. They were matter-antimatter devices that created miniature suns when they detonated. Commander Kim watched the tactical display with professional focus. This was not cruelty. This was necessity. The Coalition had come to conquer. They had brought everything they had. If humanity showed mercy now, if they let this fleet escape, the galaxy would think humans could be beaten. They would try again and again until someone succeeded. No, this had to be decisive. This had to be a lesson so clear that no one would ever question human power again. 6 hours after the battle began, the Coalition fleet had lost 70% of its ships. Survivors were surrendering in groups. Velthara's own flagship was crippled, its weapons offline, its engines dead. A human boarding team secured the bridge in minutes, moving with efficiency that made even the Zarkath warriors look clumsy. Velthara stood in chains before Commander Kim. Her forearms were bound, and for the first time in centuries, she understood what true defeat felt like. "You tricked us," she said bitterly. "You underestimated us. That was your mistake, not our deception. You thought because we were young, we were foolish. You thought because we asked for help, we were weak. You never stopped to consider that maybe we were simply patient," Kim said without sympathy. He gestured to the view screen which showed the battlefield. Thousands of broken ships, hundreds of thousands of casualties. The largest military fleet in galactic history, destroyed in less than a day. "This was not even our main fleet," Kim said quietly. "This was Defense Network. Our true military strength remains hidden, ready if anyone else decides to test us. Remember that, Council Prime. Remember it and make sure everyone else remembers too. Admiral Choi broadcast the complete battle footage to every world in the galaxy. She added one simple message. This is what happens when you attack humanity. This is what happens when you threaten Earth. We do not seek war, but if war comes, we will end it decisively. 3 months after the battle, the galaxy was a very different place. The Galactic Council chambers had been restructured literally and politically. Where 17 species once sat on elevated platforms looking down at lesser members, there were now equal seats arranged in a circle. No one sat higher than anyone else. Ambassador Hannah Park stood at the center of that circle. She had been elected the first Secretary General of the reformed Galactic Council. It was a position that existed to coordinate, not to command. Every species had an equal voice now. Every world had a vote. The old council was built on military strength, Hannah explained to the assembled representatives. The strong ruled and the weak obeyed. That system led to oppression, to fear, and ultimately to war. She looked around the chamber. We are building something better. Not everyone was happy with the changes. Some of the larger species resented their loss of special privileges, but they had seen what happened to those who opposed humanity. The coalition fleet had been the strongest force the galaxy could assemble, and it had been destroyed in hours. No one wanted to risk facing human power again. Council Prime Velthara sat among the representatives now. She was no longer the leader, just another voice. She had been released from custody after agreeing to new treaties that limited military expansion. Her empire would pay reparations for the unprovoked attack. But humanity had shown mercy. They had not demanded conquest or humiliation. Velthara raised one of her 4 arms to request the floor. Hannah nodded permission. The former Council Prime had a question for the Secretary General. Humanity has the power to rule this galaxy absolutely, Velthara said. Her voice carried none of its old arrogance. You could impose your will on every species. Instead, you share power freely. Why, Hannah smiled. It was a genuine smile, not the diplomatic mask she had worn for so many years. Because we remember what it was like to be powerless, she answered. We remember asking for help and being laughed at. We remember watching our people die while others did nothing. We built our military to ensure we would never be helpless again. But we did not build it to become the oppressors ourselves. Commander Daeho Kim was no longer just a commander. He had been promoted to Fleet Admiral and given command of the new Galactic Peacekeeping Fleet. It was a force made up of human ships and volunteers from species that believed in the Reformed Council. Captain Yoonji Song worked beside him now as his chief of staff. Together, they were training the first generation of mixed-species military units. It was challenging work. Every species had different combat styles, different technologies, different ideas about warfare. The Miralin sensor technology is incredible, Song reported during a briefing. Combined with our weapon systems, we can detect threats from twice the range we could before. And the Dorathi logistics officers have found ways to extend our supply lines that our own planners missed. Kim nodded with satisfaction. This was what he had hoped for. Humanity was powerful, but they were not perfect. Other species had capabilities that humans lacked. Together they were stronger than any single species could be alone. What about the Zarkath volunteers, he asked. Song pulled up a file. After their defeat, many Zarkath warriors had requested permission to join human forces. They respected strength, and humanity had proven their strength absolutely. They are excellent soldiers once they adapt to our tactical approach, Song reported. Their warrior culture gives them natural discipline. We just had to teach them that real strength is not about individual glory, but about working as a unit. Admiral Bora Choi stood in her command center, the same one from which she had orchestrated the defeat of the coalition. But today she was reviewing different plans. Plans for peace, not war. Humanity was sharing technology with other species now. Not military technology, at least not the most advanced systems, but everything else. Medical advances that could save billions of lives. Agricultural techniques that could end hunger on dozens of worlds. Clean energy systems that could lift entire civilizations to prosperity. Some of her officers questioned this approach. They argued that keeping technological superiority was essential to maintaining human security. Choi understood their concerns, but she disagreed. Our security does not come from keeping others weak, she explained. It comes from being strong enough that no one dares attack us while being generous enough that no one wants to. We want allies, not subjects. Not everyone in the galaxy accepted the new order peacefully. Remnants of the old coalition formed resistance cells. They launched terrorist attacks against human installations and against species that allied with humanity. They believed they were fighting to preserve their traditional way of life. They learned quickly that humanity had not revealed all their capabilities. Human intelligence networks were as advanced as their military. Every resistance cell was infiltrated within weeks. Every planned attack was stopped before it could be executed. The few attacks that did succeed were met with surgical strikes that eliminated the perpetrators without harming civilians. After 6 months, the resistance collapsed. Not because humanity crushed it with overwhelming force, but because it became clear that resistance was futile. The new order was here to stay. Then came the new threat that no one had anticipated. Deep space sensors detected something approaching from beyond known space. It was a fleet unlike anything the galaxy had seen. Ships made of materials that did not match any known technology. Energy signatures that suggested power sources the Council had never developed. The unknown fleet entered Council space and immediately attacked a border system. The defenders, a mixed force of humans and allied species, tried to communicate. The unknown vessels responded with weapons fire that tore through shields as if they were not there. Ambassador Park called an emergency council session. Every species sent representatives. For the first time since the Reformation, the entire galaxy united with a single purpose: survival. "We face an enemy that the old council could never have defeated," Hana said grimly. "They are more advanced than any of us. More powerful. More ruthless." She looked around the chamber. "But we are not the old council. We are stronger together than we ever were apart." Admiral Kim took command of the combined galactic fleet. Human ships formed the core, but they were supported by vessels from 30 different species. Each one brought their unique capabilities. Each one had a role to play. The battle that followed tested everything the Reformed Council had built. The enemy was indeed powerful, but they had made one critical mistake. They assumed that galactic species still fought as individuals, competing rather than cooperating. Instead, they faced a unified defense. Miralyn sensors detected enemy movements. Darathi logistics kept the fleet supplied during the extended battle. Zarkath warriors led boarding actions with human marines. Even Kelvorian ships, once humanity's enemies, fought alongside Earth's fleet with honor and courage. The enemy fleet was defeated after 3 days of intense combat. It was not an easy victory. Casualties were heavy and many ships were destroyed. But the galaxy survived, and more importantly, they survived together. In the aftermath, Velthara requested a private meeting with Ambassador Park. They met in a quiet garden on the council station, away from the politicians and military officers. "I understand now," Velthara said quietly. "When my people ruled the council, we thought we were strong because we had the largest fleet. But we were weak because we stood alone. You humans showed us something we had forgotten." "What is that?" Hana asked. Velthara explained that true strength comes not from the power to destroy, but from the wisdom to protect. Not from ruling others, but from standing beside them. Your species learned that lesson through centuries of warfare on your homeworld. You learned it the hard way, and now you are teaching it to all of us. Admiral Choi retired 6 months later. She had served humanity for 40 years, the last 20 in complete secrecy. Now her work was done. The galaxy was not perfect, it never would be. But it was better, fairer, safer. On her last day, she met with Commander Kim in a secure facility deep within the Kuiper Belt. She showed him something that only a handful of people knew existed: the deep space sensor network that had detected the external threat years before humanity revealed their fleet. "We knew they were coming," Choi explained. "We detected signs of that hostile fleet 5 years ago. That is when we made the decision to reveal our power, because we knew the galaxy would need to be united when the real threat arrived." Kim stared at the data, understanding dawning in his eyes. Everything, the timing of the revelation, the battle with the coalition, the reformation of the council, it had all been planned. Humanity had not just prepared to defend themselves. They had prepared to defend everyone. Why, he asked. Why go to such lengths for species that treated us with contempt? Choi smiled. It was the same smile she had worn when she gave the order to reveal humanity's true power. Because we are human, she said simply. We remember what it is like to be vulnerable, to be underestimated, to be dismissed. We built this fleet not for conquest, but because when the real threat came, someone needed to be ready. And it turned out that someone was us. She gestured to the view screen which showed Earth in the distance, that small blue world where humanity had evolved.